This is part 2 of the Stonepoint Asymmetric Scallop top. We're doing the lace sleeves, and again, it's part 2. Let's get going. Okay, I have been continuing from, here's the shoulder scallop. Here's those pretty shoulder scallops that we made. Look how nice this is going to lay. It'll actually lay better because a shoulder, to be a little more fitted, should slope down, and this just does it perfectly. Okay, so we've been working rows. We've been working rows vertically this way, back and forth, down towards the armpit. And this is hard to get in, but I am getting towards the armpit now, and I wanted to show you what to do at the armpit because the stitches aren't exactly as easy to tell. There is one row in the armpit that there is one extra row in the armpit here, and I'll just show you what to do with that because we're going to keep building, and we're going to keep, and I'm turning this over, and we're going to see, we're going to keep building around through the armpit, but I just don't want it to get loose down here, so I'll show you what to do. And we're going to keep building around all the way back up to here, and then we're going to stop here. So let's get going. I'm maintaining my stitch count. I will meet you at, I'm coming back towards the armpits, so if you want to go along with me, go ahead and work your way down there. And I'll meet you at the 34th stitch down here at the armpit. Okay, I'm at stitch 34. Again, we're going to look at this side of it because here's my actual entire stitch, but I'm just going into the front loop. This would be stitch 35. And then let's look at the armpit a little bit. Just as you're making choices, we're attaching by the rows. We kind of want each stitch around to be the same as one row, but in the armpit, to make less rows is good, especially in the plus sizes. So like if in doubt, like move over one. But there is, what I'm going to do is I have decided that there's 2 stitches here, and you can just be consistent. Because see, there's one row here and one row here, so I've decided this is a stitch and this is a stitch, but I've decided I'm going to skip over this one. And what'll happen is when you skip over it and don't use it because it's a used stitch, it won't pull apart. So I'm just trying to make it sturdy in there. But this is a used stitch, so this would be my next one, and I know it's only one loop. And that's a little bit of a problem for me because I don't want my I don't want this to be like open and airy. You know, it just can be too loose and too open at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is, this is kind of one whole stitch, so I'm going to try to find a way to pick up 2 strands, which is possibly right here, and then ignore this part. So just if in doubt, pick the sturdiest part, pick up 2 strands to slip stitch to attach that, and then you know, you might even want to skip over here, but that's going to leave a gap, so try and think about the gap. So this is my next stitch that I'm going to stitch into, and we just want to remove gaps, and I know that can be a problem, and this one's kind of tight, and slip stitch this to start. Now when I come back, I'm going to go back towards the wrist now. When I come back, see this right here, I'm going to ignore this and go right and slip stitch right into here to keep things from being too loose at the armpit. So I'm turning this over. Again, we're going to look at the fact that we put two, oh boy, I'm sorry about that. The fact that we put 2 slip stitches in here. There we go. We put 2 slip stitches, so those aren't our first stitch. Right here's our first stitch that we go into. And we front loop single crochet. That's stitch 1, and then we start counting down, stitch 2, and I will meet you at stitch 34 down here at the wrist. Okay, this is my stitch 34, and then don't forget my turning chain, which is, and go into both loops, and this is stitch 35, and then I'm going to take this out, and then I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to turn, and that's 1 stitch, and this is my second stitch, and then I've been stopping and kind of trying to find that turning chain stitch a little bit better. So it needs to be nice and neat, and mine are just collapsing bad. So I think that this is it right here. You'll know what it looks like, and maybe yours won't collapse. I think it's that little tug I give this. Sorry about that. Okay, sorry about the dog alarm. I'm at stitch 34 at the arm, towards the armhole, and I'm going to hit stitch 35. You're probably getting used to this, but still, I thought I had it down. I didn't have to count before, and I needed to count. Okay, so we're at actually the armpit. We're, you know, halfway done with these sleeves. I love these sleeves, and I worked really, really super hard. Now this one is 100% cotton. Just a fun fact, this one is 100% cotton, so I had to go a size up. This is for my Aunt Peggy, and she wears kind of a 3 or a 2X, but, and hopefully she'll model it for us because it's going to look beautiful on her. But she has like kind of thin arms because our arm length obviously doesn't get bigger depending on our size, but the armhole opening does. But she kind of needed a smaller, so I did a 2X armhole opening on a 3X top. Now understand, you can, it just depends upon, remember we left this open, the armhole open. You can make, if you've got like big arms but a smaller body, you can use a different size for the armholes. You can do a different amount. So this one I actually made like a 2X arm opening and a 3X top, and it'll shrink down, therefore it'll be a 1X arm opening with a 2X top. Anyhow, just as a fun fact, if you want, I mean, the armhole opening you can choose depending on who you're making this for, because some of us have big arms and some of us have thin arms, and you can make it a little bit smaller. So here we are down at, we made our 35th stitch, and here's this weird row at the armpit. The rest of them are going to be easy. Look, they're just all normal stitches, but here we are at the armpit. Well, we wanted to skip this one, so we didn't have this pull apart gap here, so we wanted to just ignore this because it's kind of worked in on both sides. So just in doubt, you know, try and pull it together. So this is where we want to slip stitch, and so make this nice tight slip stitch so we don't have a gap. And now look at this part. See how this is kind of open? This is where you could, those of you that are advanced can make a little decisions. And my decision, because this is a little open, is right in the armpit. See how it's nice. I mean, it looks like, it doesn't look bulky. It doesn't look, I hate sewing, but this just looks so much nicer. But look how nice this looks. And this is all slip stitch attachment. But this is slip, this is joining, this is a way of joining as you go, crocheting and joining as you go, and it makes a really nice attachment. Either side looks nice. This isn't, there's kind of an inside and an outside of this garment, but not really. Okay, so see how that gapped really big there? And that happens even if you crochet tight or you're a really even crocheter, that can just happen. So in this last stitch, I'm going to go in the armpit. I'm going to go into both loops. And this isn't in the pattern. This is just a decision I decided to make to just show you guys some options if you're having, if it's too loose in the armpit. Now, see, when I pull it up through, I didn't realize, but I make with this one, not with other things, not with smaller hooks, but with these big hooks, I make a little, you know, pull here, and it makes my stitches tighter. So we're ignoring that one, and we're slip stitching into this one. So you saw how it was before, and then when you when this is blocked a little bit more, you saw how it was before, and now we got rid of, like we got rid of all the gapping. So I slip stitch. Now we have to slip stitch up one more, and the rest of these stitches are really easy to see, and there's no more decisions to make. Not that you have to make these decisions, these are just possibilities. And so remember, these are 2 slip stitches, so you're going to go into this, these are 2 slip stitches. Right here is your very first stitch. Now also I'm going to go into both loops of this one just because we're in the armpit. Now I'm going to go to the front loops. It doesn't say that in a pattern, that's just an option if your top looks gappy. Now also understand that as you pull both ways, you're going to be able to get rid of these gaps. Okay, see, all the gaps are pretty much gone. And then also, this is 100% cotton, so when I wash it, it's going to shrink 10%, and it's going to condense all of these stitches too. So I know it all feels loose and gappy, but I'm just explaining how those gaps just get taken care of. It really isn't something special I do, even though I showed you all the special little tricks in the armpit if you want to do them. I don't like a lot of bulk in the armpits of my clothes, and I also you know, don't want it to be gappy. I want it to be real, I don't want it to be fragile down there or get misshapen easily. I want it to stay shaped nicely, and this will. So I'm working my way back down to the wrist. Everything is the same all the way. Okay, see, I'm going to lay this out. I'm going to pause this and back it up. Okay, I just wanted a larger view so we could look at what we have going on here. And I'm on the other side of this, so this is upside down. Okay, here's our pretty arm shoulder things, and then this looks a little funny here, but I promise you this is going to lay just how you want. It just takes a little pulling both ways. You know how things get a little funky here, but see, look how this, let me see if I can show you. Look how this shoulder, oh, here we go. Here's a good view. Look how this shoulder just slopes down just a little bit. Look at it this way. There you go. You can see how it slopes down just a little bit. And then also the bigger necks, especially when you get to the plus sizes, they actually look more dramatic and pretty. This top was actually designed, it was a coordinated design by my Aunt Peggy and Brenda, and so it was designed for a plus size person and then just happen to look fabulous on the small, medium, and larges also. So this worked out great. I think I may do all my shoulders like this because this just slopes down so perfectly. And then, okay, so see, this is how far we are. See, this is how far we are. And then, see, we're going around the, okay, so we're going around the armpit. And then we're going to keep building rows all the way up to here. And you need to stop here. So I'm going to continue building every row. The stitches, when you get there, when you attach to the armhole, they're all much easier to see here. I showed you how to deal with any gapping in the armpit. We should have all the problems figured out. So don't worry, this armhole seemed big before, but as we put these rows in and this lighter, kind of lighter, flatter material, because this doesn't need to have all the stretch. As we do that, it's going to make the armhole a little bit smaller, so it won't be so gappy. So I'm going to continue building rows. See, I'm through the arm, I'm done with the armpit. I'm going to continue building rows until I get to here. So I will meet you once we get to rows right around here.